Cameos will rarely ever make a movie in and of themselves, but they can be a fun cherry on top of an already great film, or perhaps even be the single memorable bright spot in an otherwise totally forgettable piece of cinema. And over the past year or so in movies, there have been some cameos that none of us saw coming and had us all going, "Quoi? Bourgeois? A blois?" in the theater. Or maybe that was just me doing that noise, and if you happen to share a screen with me in the last 12 months, well, I'm not sorry. I'm Ewan, this is What Culture, and here are a whole bunch of recent movie cameos nobody saw coming. First up, Bradley Cooper, Superman. James Gunn sure doesn't forget the actors he's enjoyed fruitful collaborations with in the past, but did anyone expect to see Bradley Cooper show up in his new reboot of Superman? Not me, but up here he does. Cooper shows up in the opening minutes of the film where he portrays Clark's father Jor-El, alongside Angela Sarafian, who plays his mother Lara Lorvan, in a holographic message watched by Superman himself. It's immediately jarring to see an actor of Cooper's stature playing such a small part totally out of nowhere, though, of course, given Jor-El's iconic nature in his own right, it absolutely tracks that a major name actor would be sought out for the role. Beyond Cooper having worked with Gunn before as Rocket in the Guardians of the Galaxy movies, Gunn said that he wanted an actor for Jor-El who could, quote, walk in the footsteps of Marlon Brando, who of course played the role in the original 1978 Richard Donner-directed Superman. The rumors have swirled as of late that Cooper may reprise the role in the upcoming Supergirl, which would make a lot of sense. We'll just have to wait and see. Next up, Dave Bautista, The Naked Gun. The Naked Gun crams an absolutely ludicrous number of gut-busting gags into its svelte 85-minute runtime, and one of its best comes right at the end when Frank Drebin Jr., played by Liam Neeson here, finally takes on antagonist Richard Kane, played by the always reliable Danny Huston. As the two talk tough before throwing down, Liam Neeson is randomly replaced by Dave Bautista, who continues to read Drebin's lines like it's the most natural thing in the world. After a beat, a toilet flushes nearby, and Neeson emerges from his apparent bathroom break, thanking Dave for filling in, all while Dave laments that he messed up some of the lines. And to add another hilarious cherry on top here, Big Dave then gets attacked by a violent mob nearby, all while screaming, "I'm not even in the movie!" It's a terrible impression, but that's what we're working with today. Now, comedy cameos often succeed on the strength of how totally unexpected they are, and it's fair to say that nobody saw this one coming. Next up, Arnold Schwarzenegger, The Running Man. Before the release of Edgar Wright's recent reimagining of The Running Man, many wondered whether Arnold Schwarzenegger, the star of the original 1987 film, might make a cameo appearance. And the answer was ultimately yes. Sort of. In the opening minutes of Wright's movie, protagonist Ben Richards, here played by Glenn Powell, is watching a commercial for a TV game show when the show's glamorous assistant holds up an $100 bill, and the face adorned on it is none other than Arnie himself. In case there's any doubt here, Wright has confirmed that the implication is that Schwarzenegger went on to become the President of the United States after his run as governor, with US legislation being changed to allow American citizens born outside of the US to become president. Wright also added that he was effectively carrying on a joke which started in the classic 90s Sylvester Stallone action flick Demolition Man, in which one scene memorably name-dropped Schwarzenegger's presidential library, which is just a fun old time. Next up, Jamie Lee Curtis, Star Trek Section 31. Star Trek Section 31 was one of the year's most disappointing films, and ultimately, there was little memorable about it, save for hosting one of the most bizarre and unexpected cameos of the entire goddamn year. In the final scene of the film, Philippa Georgiou, played by Michelle Yeoh, and her crew receive a holo call from Control, an AI director of the shadowy Starfleet division known as Section 31. And Control ends up being played by none other than Jamie Lee Curtis herself, complete with mechanical implants glued to her head. Curtis is in the movie for all of about 30 seconds here, simply to tell the team that the next mission will take them to Turkana 4, but the actress is ultimately famous enough that her presence here is completely distracting, ensuring it's impossible to take any of it seriously at all. As for how Curtis actually wound up in the movie, well, it was almost certainly due to her friendship with Michelle Yeoh, with the pair previously co-starring in Everything Everywhere All at Once, for which they of course both won Oscars. On the way, Eminem, Happy Gilmore 2. The second Happy Gilmore film is pretty much a conveyor belt of cameos more than it is much of a movie, and the very best cameo of the lot also happens to be the most brilliantly unexpected. Yep, we're talking about the surprise cameo of Eminem late in the movie as Donald Floyd Jr., the son of Donald Sr., the heckler from the original film who was played by the late, great Joe Flaherty. Donald Jr. attempts to provoke Happy into hitting him in the middle of the golf championship, but Happy's sons instead take charge of the matter, picking up Donald and throwing him into a nearby lake. Hilariously, Donald is soon enough flanked by some very hungry alligators, and though he puts up a decent enough scrap, he's ultimately ripped apart by the animals, all while shouting lyrics from various Eminem songs. Happy Gilmore 2 may have been ludicrously messy and self-indulgent, but this cameo was frankly incredible. I mean, come on, it's a great time. Next up, Mark Ruffalo. Now you see me, now you don't. Before the release of Now You See Me, Now You Don't, many were disappointed by the absence of Mark Ruffalo in the cast list and marketing, and with there being little reason to believe his role in the threequel was being concealed as a surprise, it was easy to believe he was genuinely too busy to appear in the actual movie. Early in the film, we learn that Ruffalo's character, horseman leader Dylan Shrike, was captured and incarcerated in a Russian prison following a heist gone wrong, which seemed like an easy excuse to explain Ruffalo's absence while still allowing him to return in a future sequel. The Ruffalo does actually appear at the very end of the movie for a brief, minute-long scene. In the scene, the other horsemen receive a package which, upon opening, projects a hologram image of Shrike, who reveals that he faked his imprisonment before formally inducting young new recruits Charlie, Bosco, and June into the Horsemen. As revealed by director Ruben Fleischer after the film's release, Ruffalo actually wasn't originally part of the movie due to his busy schedule, but became available for a single day during reshoots, and so he was filmed against a green screen to be inserted into the film as a hologram. As the threequel's solid box office performance makes a fourth film highly likely, hopefully we might get him back in a substantial role next time around. On the way, Tom Hanks. Freaky Tales. Because Anna Boden and Ryan Fleck's oddball anthology film Freaky Tales doesn't have a stupid good cast already, Tom Hanks also rocks up for an unexpected mid-film cameo, and it's a great time. When Pedro Pascal's Clint goes to a video rental store to conduct some under-the-table, shall we say, business, the clerk is played by none other than Hanks, and better yet, he happens to be called Hank. In the scene, Hank talks to Clint about the best underdog movies of all time before finally granting Clint passage to his secret meeting, inundating him with a wealth of unsolicited film knowledge like every movie store employee of all time is basically duty-bound to do. You might expect to see an actor of Hanks' undeniable A-list standing show up again or have a bigger, more important part in the movie, but no, this is it, and it's a great time. As for how Boden and Fleck snagged Hanks for the part, well, they worked with him on the TV show Masters of the Air, and being an Oakland native, where the movie is actually set, he was only too eager to take a small part in the project. Though Hanks originally had a mere seconds-long cameo, once they secured his services for a day, Boden and Fleck decided to write an entire scene just for him. Next up, Adam Scott, the Monkey. The marketing for Osgood Perkins' The Monkey made no allusion at all to its big opening cameo, where Severance's Adam Scott shows up in the 1999 set prologue as P.T. Shelbourne Sr., the panicked father of protagonist Hal, played by Theo James. PD Sr. is shown trying to return the cursed wind-up drumming toy monkey to the antique store from which he acquired it, but before he can finish the transaction, the monkey begins drumming, and if you've seen the film, well, you know that's nothing good. This soon enough triggers a Final Destination-esque chain reaction, which results in the store's owner being shot with a harpoon gun and subsequently disemboweled when the gun retracts. A understandably horrified PD responds by grabbing a flamethrower off the shelf and torching the monkey before vanishing, leaving Hal and his twin brother Bill to be raised solo by their mother Lois, played by Tatiana Maslany. And though we might expect an actor of Scott's profile to reappear later in the movie, the opening scene is actually the last we ever see of him, with his ultimate fate left totally ambiguous. Next up, Alain Hendrix, Freakier Friday. As far as legacy comedy sequels go, Freakier Friday was surprisingly pretty good, largely thanks to game performances from Lindsay Lohan and Jamie Lee Curtis. And in the interest of keeping the fuzzy, nostalgic vibes going, the film has a crowd-pleasing cameo from Alain Hendrix, who plays Blake, the publicist of Ella, a pop star who Anna is actually working with. This may well be missed by some, but Hendrix played the villainous fiancée Meredith Blake in 1998's remake of The Parent Trap, which of course starred Lohan in the dual central role. To hammer the point home even further, Meredith's surname is the first name of Hendrix's character in Freakier Friday, and both characters are also publicists. Seeing Hendrix and Lohan share the screen again here makes for a fun, surprising nod to Lohan's wider earlier career as a young star, especially when Blake refers to Anna as Puss, the very same nickname her character in The Parent Trap had for Lohan's twins Hallie and Annie. On the way, Dwayne Johnson, Zootopia 2. Zootopia 2 has an undeniably stacked voice cast, and in the lead-up to its release, Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson was confirmed to play a role in the film, one which ultimately proved much smaller and more conspicuous than surely anyone could have ever expected. Johnson ends up providing the voice for Zeke, a dick which gets stuck in a tuber during Judy and Nick's chaotic car chase early in the movie. We briefly see news footage of said Dick being freed from the tuber and then launched promptly into the sky. There's virtually no chance you'd ever recognize Johnson's voice here, considering he doesn't let out much more than a yelp when he's liberated from the tuber, so it's all the more hilarious that Disney got the ever-busy actor into a recording booth for such a throwaway nothing role. You can probably guess that Johnson did the cameo as a favor to Disney, probably while he was recording his lines for 2024's Moana 2, but either way, it's a fun cameo all the same. Next up, Trent Reznor and Atticus Ross, Tron Ares. Okay, so here's a pair of cameos you literally could not see coming, considering that the folks involved were concealed beneath helmets the entire time. Tron Ares' musical score was of course provided by Nine Inch Nails, Trent Reznor and Atticus Ross to be precise, and the duo actually also have fleeting cameos during one of the film's later airborne action sequences. Reznor and Ross suited up to play F-35 pilots who were taken out by light drones during the high wire climax. Though neither Ross nor Reznor show their faces or even speak in the film, behind-the-scenes images have shown the pair suited up without their helmets, so yeah, it's a cameo. Considering that Reznor would be an immediate distraction if he appeared in the film without his helmet, although he would have definitely made it watchable and a lot better, it was probably for the best that he's never actually recognizably visible on screen. On the way, Laura Dern, Caught Stealing. Throughout Darren Aronofsky's new crime romp Caught Stealing, protagonist Russ, played by Austin Butler, periodically talks to his mother on the phone, yet you couldn't really be blamed for failing to recognize who the person on the other end of the line was actually played by. But shortly after the end credits roll, we're treated to one final scene where Russ's mother receives a box full of the Russians' money. Much to her shock, and the big surprise here is that she's played by the wonderful Laura Dern herself. Again, it's easy to miss Dern's voice given the relatively small size of her role, but even if you did notice it, did you actually expect her to show up in the movie on screen? Because, well, I wasn't. Also, fun fact here, during the press tour for the film, Butler credited Dern with, alongside Tom Hardy, helping steer him away from method acting, after he took himself to the physical and mental limit to portray Elvis Presley in Baz Luhrmann's 2022 biopic. So, good job, movie parents, Laura Dern and Tom Hardy. You've raised a good one. Next up, Matt Berry, a Minecraft movie. The Minecraft movie is not good, but it did end up saving its funniest and probably only worthwhile gag for a mid-credits scene, where it's revealed that after Marlene hit the villager nitwit with her car and took him for dinner, they're now romantically involved. Jennifer Coolidge's character has an ex-husband who then shows up incensed and is in absolute disbelief at who Marlene is shacking up with, at which point Nitwit interrupts and starts speaking English for the first time, where he's hilariously voiced by none other than Matt Berry. Considering how articulate and distinctive Berry's speaking voice is, it's a gut-bustingly unexpected cameo, albeit one that's actually a nod to the fact that Berry was originally cast in the role of protagonist Steve, but had to drop out due to scheduling conflicts, after which it went for Jack Black. While Berry probably would have been able to play a decent Steve, or anything's better than what we got, let's be real, the sheer shock value rug pull of him voicing Nitwit of all people made the recast so worth it. Next up, Isla Fisher, Bridget Jones, Mad About the Boy. Now, in fairness, it was actually announced well ahead of time that Isla Fisher would be appearing in the fourth Bridget Jones film, Mad About the Boy, but this naturally led many to believe that she'd be playing a relatively prominent supporting role in the film, either as a new friend or rival of Bridget's, of course played by Renee Zellweger. Fisher seemed like a fine fit for the world of Bridget Jones, and her comedic chops speak for themselves. So what a surprise it was for her role to amount to nothing more than a mere 10-second cameo. About 20 minutes into the film, Bridget leaves home with her kids, and we momentarily glimpse her hoity-toity new neighbor Rebecca as she angrily shouts at her own children from her bedroom window, with Rebecca being played by Fisher. Just about everyone assumed they'd be seeing Fisher again later in the film, but that single moment is the baffling full extent of her role. And though you might assume her larger part was left on the cutting room floor, director Michael Morris confirmed at the film's premiere that she simply filled a small role as a quote-unquote massive favor. Next up, everyone at the wedding, The Conjuring Last Rites. Seemingly in an attempt to cement the finality of The Conjuring Last Rites being the last Conjuring movie, despite a prequel having recently been announced, the film ends with a bombardment of cameos from the three previous mainline entries. When Ed and Lorraine Warren's daughter Judy gets married, we see a number of familiar faces in attendance who the Warrens have helped in the past. There's Carolyn and Cindy Perrin from the first movie, Frances O'Connor and Madison Wolfe's Peggy and Janet from the second, and David Glatzel from the third. And as a cute cherry on top too, franchise creator James Wan, who directed the first two films in the series, can also be seen behind Lily Taylor. While most of Last Rites' attempts to give audiences an emotional send-off fell a little bit flat, at least in this case it was neat to see the legacy cast back for a fleeting moment and acknowledge the passage of time. Next up, Robert Downey Jr., The Fantastic Four First Steps. In the mid-credits scene of The Fantastic Four First Steps, Sue Storm stumbles across a hooded figure very clearly implied to be Doctor Doom, kneeling by her son Franklin. Though we of course already knew that Robert Downey Jr. would be playing the MCU's iteration of Doom by the time First Steps was released, most assumed that this scene was shot with a double, given that Downey's face is never shown, and so it would presumably be far cheaper to just use a stand-in instead. But Vanessa Kirby confirmed during the movie's press tour that RDJ did in fact don the cloak and mask for the scene, which was shot during production of Avengers Doomsday by the Russo brothers, rather than Fantastic Four's director, Matt Shakman. Considering that Marvel is basically setting money on fire every time Downey is on set, for good reason admittedly, it's actually pretty surprising that they bothered to shoot such a nothing burger of a scene with him rather than just use a double. Next up, Buddy Guy. Sinners. Sinners' superb mid-credits epilogue leaps forward 6 decades to 1992, where Miles Caton's Sammy is now an elderly, successful blues musician and is paid a visit by the miraculously still alive vampiric duo Stack and Mary, played by Michael B. Jordan and Haley Steinfeld. If you're not too into your blues music, well, you might not appreciate the magnitude of this scene, but the elderly Sammy is actually played by a genuine blues legend in Buddy Guy. Guy was a pioneer of the Chicago blues movement and has influenced generations of guitarists as diverse as Eric Clapton, Jimi Hendrix, Jimmy Page, Keith Richards, Stevie Ray Vaughan, Jeff Beck, and John Mayer, while having 8 Grammy Awards to his name. That's like one of the coolest musical legacies ever. For Ryan Coogler to secure the services of an 88-year-old guy for the part, and for him to prove such a natural actor no less, is a major geek-out moment for any blues fans out there, even if it likely flew over the heads of just about everyone else. Next up, Jennifer Lopez, Anaconda. It sure seemed like Sony spoiled the big surprise cameo in their new Anaconda meta-sequel when the final trailer revealed the presence of Ice Cube, who of course co-starred in the original 1997 film. However, writer and director Tom Gormican had one more shot cameo up his sleeve at the very end of the film, when Jennifer Lopez herself, who played protagonist Terry Flores in the 97 movie, rocks up totally out of nowhere. Though J-Lo is mentioned several times in the film, as an official Anaconda reboot is being shot in the very same jungle where Doug and his pals are shooting their unofficial reimagining, the fact that she doesn't show up alongside Ice Cube seemed to suggest that this production couldn't have secured her services. However, in the final scene of the movie, J-Lo knocks on Doug's door, informs him that she saw his Anaconda movie and loved it, and then invites him to direct the real reboot. According to Gormican, the cameo was shot barely 3 weeks before the film's premiere due to scheduling conflicts. And though the idea of a J-Lo cameo was discussed early on, he ultimately didn't expect it to happen. Next up, Sarah Michelle Gellar and Brandy Norwood. I Know What You Did Last Summer. This movie may have been a big old pile of poo, but it did at least serve up 2 fun and wildly unexpected legacy cameos in Sarah Michelle Gellar and Brandy Norwood. Though Michelle Gellar fiercely denied that she'd be appearing in the film, given that her fan-favourite character, Helen Shivers, and that is the best slasher name ever, died in the original film, she does ultimately appear in one of protagonist Danica's nightmares, wielding a hook and warning Danica of the danger to come. And perhaps even more surprising than this is the reappearance of Brandy Norwood's Carla Wilson, Julie James's friend from I Still Know What You Did Last Summer, which is not as good as the original, and they, weren't all that amazing to begin with anyway, but still, they were all better than the most recent movie. In the requel's mid-credits scene, Julie pays a visit to Carla and explains that she received a note which reads, "It isn't over," and Carla hilariously responds with, "Who are we effing up this time?" As mostly terrible as this legacy sequel was, the prospect of a follow-up in which Julie and Carla team up against another killer is actually pretty interesting. At least it's better than whatever the hell this last movie was. And lastly, we have Craig Lamar trailer, Renner. And finally, you may or may not have seen the new Frankie Muniz starring sci-fi thriller Renner, where Muniz plays a tech genius torn between his not remotely Freudian AI life coach Solanus and his gorgeous new neighbor, played by Violet Bean. While it's fun to see Muniz back on the screen given his lower acting profile in recent years, the film also plays host to a sneaky and unexpected Malcolm in the Middle reunion. Craig Lamar trailer, who played Malcolm's unforgettable asthmatic pal Stevie in the show, appears for a fleeting cameo at the start of the film, portraying one of Renner's neighbors who waltzes past him in their shared hallway. Trailer also reappears in a post-credits gag where he learns that his Alexa assistant has been replaced by Salinus. Given that Trailer has barely acted since the end of Malcolm in the Middle almost 2 decades ago, nobody could be blamed for missing him here, but it does make for a cute little Easter egg in an otherwise relatively forgettable tech thriller. Also, fun fact, Malcolm fans will get to see Muniz and Trailer reunited once more in the upcoming Malcolm in the Middle revival series, Life's Still Unfair, with Trailer recently confirmed to appear as Stevie. I am so excited for that one. So excited for that one. I can't wait, bring it on.